The Generals of the Yang Family, Chapter 42.
I want you to imagine, just for a second, being a sleeper agent embedded so deeply behind enemy lines that you actually, forget what your own real name sounds like.
Oh, that's such a chilling thought.
Right. And we are not talking about a quick, 3-week covert op here.
No, definitely not.
We're not talking about a 6-month deployment either. Imagine being embedded for 18 years.
Wow, 18 years, that's an entire lifetime.
Exactly. 2 decades of eating their food, wearing their clothes, adopting their customs, and even marrying into their royal family.
Yeah, you're literally building an entire alternate reality for yourself.
You really are. And you're doing all this while waiting for one specific, vanishingly narrow window of opportunity to bring down an empire from the inside out.
It requires a level of psychological compartmentalization that most human beings just simply do not possess.
I can't even fathom it.
Right. I mean, you wake up every single morning knowing that one misspoken word or, one nostalgic sigh for your homeland or even just one slip of the tongue in your sleep means instant execution.
That is so stressful.
You aren't just playing a role at that point. You really have to become the mask.
And today, we are taking you into the exact moment that this 18-year lie finally detonates.
It's an explosive moment.
It really is a masterclass in espionage.
Yeah.
We're going to look at the devastating power of confirmation bias and, well, the sheer brutal mechanics of military strategy.
Yeah, it's a fascinating case study.
So we're examining a specific, incredibly detailed account from Chapter 42 of the classical Chinese text, Generals of the Yang Family.
Such a dense text.
It is. And if you are unfamiliar with the broader context, this is an action-packed chronicle of the endless, bloody border wars between the Song Dynasty and the Liao Empire.
Right.
Today, we are zooming in on the absolute climax of this conflict, which is the fall of the Liao capital, Yuzhou.
But, we really want to look past just the surface-level battle descriptions here to deconstruct the anatomy of a perfect systemic collapse.
I love that.
We want to figure out how desperation completely blinds leadership. Like, why do intelligent people eagerly open the gates to a Trojan horse?
Right. Why would they do that?
And maybe most importantly, what is the actual human cost of living a double life when the bill finally comes due?
So to put you, the listener, right in the middle of the action, the Song Dynasty forces, led by the famously loyal Yang family, have just scored a massive victory against the Liao forces.
A huge turning point.
Right. The Liao Empire is totally reeling. And we kick off the text right in the middle of the absolute carnage.
The battle is literally raging outside the city.
It is. Yang Lulang Zhurong, he's the 6th son of the Yang family, is just tearing through the enemy vanguard. He kills the enemy general Zhang Meng in literally a handful of weapon clashes.
The adrenaline has got to be completely maxed out for him.
Oh, totally. His forces have broken the enemy line, the Liao troops are routing, and Lulang's natural instinct is to unleash his cavalry, chase them down, and wipe them off the map.
Which, if we look at the mechanics of ancient warfare, is exactly when the vast majority of casualties happen.
Really? Not during the main fighting.
No, battles are rarely bloodbaths, while two shield walls are just pushing against each other. The true slaughter happens the moment one side breaks and turns their backs to run.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because that is when a disciplined army turns into a panicked mob. So for a commander like Lu Lang, calling off a pursuit in that exact moment is almost physically painful.
Because it goes against every martial instinct he has.
Exactly.
But someone actually rides out to intercept him, and this is where the web of espionage reveals itself. The man who rides out is named Mu Yi.
Right, Mu.
But Mu Yi is secretly Yang Silang, the 4th son of the Yang family. This is our sleeper agent.
He rides out into this chaotic, blood-soaked field, intercepts his brother, and just forces a massive strategic pivot.
Just stops him in his tracks.
He basically tells Lu Ling to shut down the pursuit immediately. He says, forget the routing army. You have to turn your forces around and go rescue 10 Song court officials who are currently trapped in a nearby valley.
Okay, wait, hold on. I need to make sure I'm picturing this right.
Sure, go ahead.
You have thousands of enemy troops on the run. The victory is right there. And this sleeper agent steps in and says, let them go. Save the bureaucrats instead.
Yep, that's exactly what happened.
That requires an absurd level of discipline from Lu Lang to actually listen to that advice.
Mm.
Why are these 10 officials so valuable that they are worth sacrificing a total military victory?
Well, because Mu Yi is playing multi-dimensional chess here, while most commanders only see the board in front of them.
Okay, how so?
Think about the infrastructure of an ancient empire.
Hmm.
Military victories are ultimately hollow if the political apparatus back home collapses.
I see.
Those 10 court officials represent the administrative backbone of the Song state. If the Liao forces capture or execute them, the Song dynasty suffers a catastrophic blow to its governance.
Like taxation and legitimacy and all that.
Exactly. Mu Yi understands that winning a war isn't just about, racking up a body count. It is about preserving your own state's capacity to actually function.
So Lu Lang listens. He pivots his entire army away from the easy kills and coordinates a massive strike into the valley where the officials are trapped.
And it's intense.
The text describes this rescue mission with incredible violence. The Song generals, Yu Sheng, Zhao Zan, Meng Liang, they just crash into the valley.
Yeah, Meng Liang actually rides in and literally cleaves an enemy commander in half with an axe.
It's so brutal. And the remaining Liao commander in the valley hears that the main army has been routed, completely panics, abandons the siege on the officials, and flees.
And that successful rescue operation triggers a localized slaughter that spirals into one of the most devastating defeats in the entire text.
It really does.
By trapping the remaining Liao alliance forces in that valley, the Song army inflicts a staggering 120,000 casualties.
We really have to pause on that number for a second. 120,000 dead.
It's almost unimaginable.
The imagery in the source material is deeply haunting. It describes broken halberds drying under the sun and corpses lying so thickly that horses cannot step without treading on them.
And blood literally altering the flow of the local river.
Right. It even mentions that travelers for generations afterward would refuse to speak of that desolate valley.
Put yourself in the shoes of the Liao civilian population for a moment. In an agrarian, ancient society, losing 120,000 men in a single afternoon is an apocalyptic event.
Yeah, that's a generation wiped out.
Exactly. We are talking about farmers, blacksmiths, fathers, sons, just wiped off the demographic map. Villages would be left with no one to harvest the crops.
It's total devastation.
It is the kind of sudden, profound trauma that completely breaks the psychological spine of a nation.
But, the brutality doesn't end when the fighting stops. And this is where I really struggle with Lu Lang's decision-making.
Oh, the execution order.
Yes. After they secure the valley, he gathers his forces, looks at the tens of thousands of Liao prisoners of war they just captured, and issues an order to execute all of them.
Every single one. Mass beheadings.
Now, I understand this is ancient warfare, but tactically, isn't that a massive blunder?
How do you mean?
Well, if you execute your prisoners, doesn't that just guarantee that every single soldier remaining inside the capital city of Yuzhou will fight to the absolute bitter death? Because you've just proven that surrender means getting your head chopped off.
It is a phenomenal question, and it really cuts to the core of ancient siege logistics.
Okay, lay it on me.
On the surface, yeah, it seems counterproductive because you are hardening the enemy's resolve. But look at the brutal arithmetic Lu Lang is facing.
Math of it.
Right. He is an invading commander operating deep in hostile territory. He is about to lay siege to a massive fortified capital. How exactly is he supposed to feed tens of thousands of prisoners?
He can't even feed his own men easily, let alone double the mouths to feed.
Precisely the problem. He does not have the grain, the supply lines, or the manpower to spare guards for an angry, starving mob of POWs sitting right behind his own lines.
That makes a dark kind of sense.
If he keeps them alive, they will either starve to death slowly, or they will riot and attack his army from the rear while he is trying to breach the city walls.
So it's a terrible necessity.
Exactly. The execution, while horrifying to modern sensibilities, solves an immediate existential logistical crisis. And furthermore, it weaponizes terror.
Weaponized terror.
Yeah. By leaving a mountain of headless corpses outside the city, Lu Lang is sending a psychological shockwave over the walls of Yuzhou, designed to shatter the defenders' nerves before a single siege ladder is even raised.
Wow. And that shockwave hits the city with the force of a hurricane.
It absolutely does.
With the valley painted in blood, the Song forces secure their perimeter, and the 8th prince of the Song dynasty arrives to take overall command of the siege.
And Lu Lang tells him, "My brother is inside doing his thing. Let's put the pressure on."
Which perfectly transitions our view from the muddy, blood-soaked camps of the Song army directly into the opulent, heavily guarded war room of the Liao Empress inside Yuzhou.
It's such a stark contrast.
Let's step inside the room as the news of the 120,000 casualties arrives.
It is a textbook study in leadership paralysis. We enter the chamber, and Empress Xiao is just completely unraveling.
Her flight response has been triggered.
Totally. She looks at her generals and says, "We have to surrender immediately." Her primary motivation in that split second is purely emotional. Stop the bleeding, save whatever is left of the royal family, and end the terror.
But her executive team is aggressively fragmented.
Very much so.
Her lead commander, Yelu Shij, pushes back immediately. He plays the role of, like, the purely logical CFO looking at a balance sheet.
He's all about the numbers.
Right. He tells her, victories and defeats are just the cost of doing business in a war. He points out that behind these massive walls, they have 10 years' worth of grain stockpiled. 10 years.
That's a massive reserve.
He argues they still have hundreds of thousands of elite troops garrisoned inside. He is looking at the math and saying, do not panic. We have the resources to outlast a siege.
But then another voice chimes in, completely ignoring both the Empress's emotional terror and Yelu Xij's logistical math.
Oh, right, Chancellor Zhang.
Yes, this is Chancellor Zhang, the chief political officer. He appeals entirely to historical ego.
How so?
He tells the Empress that the Liao Empire has been feared by the Central Plains since the days of the Jin dynasty. He argues that surrendering now would destroy generations of imperial prestige.
So he's caught in the ultimate sunk cost fallacy.
Exactly.
It is so easy to picture this playing out in a modern corporate setting. Empress Xiao isn't just the CEO panicking. She's looking at a catastrophic drop in stock price and making an emotional choice to just liquidate the company.
That's a great analogy.
And Yeli Xu, the CFO, is pointing at the cash reserve saying, we have 10 years of runway, we can weather the storm. And Chancellor Zhang is the head of PR, screaming about brand legacy and how they can't fold because of their historical prestige.
They're all trapped in the exact same burning room, but they're all looking out of completely different windows.
Yeah, that's it perfectly.
They cannot form a cohesive strategy because they are siloed in their own perspectives, and this is the most dangerous possible environment for an organization to be in when a crisis hits.
And right into the middle of this fractured, screaming war room walks the absolute last person they should be listening to, Mu Yi.
Our corporate spy returns from the battlefield.
The Empress immediately calls him forward. She's desperate for clarity. She asks him where he was, assuming he had been ambushed by the Song army during the disaster in the valley.
And Mu Yi just delivers a masterclass in social engineering here.
He really does.
He tells her that he was stationed at the Southwest camp, managing the siege on the Song officials. When the battle turned, he claims he personally fought off wave after wave of Song troops specifically to cover her retreat.
It is brilliant because it's technically half true.
Right, he was at the valley.
But he completely inverts his role. When the Empress asks him about the situation outside, he doesn't try to calm her down like Yelu Xu did. He leans directly into her darkest fears.
Oh, he amplifies them.
He tells her the Song momentum is unstoppable. He says they are surrounding the city so tightly that not a single drop of water could leak out. He stokes the CEO's panic to the absolute maximum.
Because he realizes that if he agrees with the CFO and the PR guy, the Empress might actually calm down and form a rational defense plan.
Right, and he can't have that.
Exactly. By amplifying her terror, he isolates her from her own logical advisors. He makes himself the only person who validates her emotional state.
That's so manipulative.
And once she is completely terrified, he throws her a lifeline. He says, "Don't worry, my elite troops and I will personally hold the line and protect you."
Wow. He is literally acquiring administrative privileges to the entire defense network while actively feeding a virus into the mainframe.
That's exactly what he's doing.
He takes control of the very troops he intends to destroy. And while the Liao leadership is tearing itself apart from the inside, a completely wild, unpredictable element arrives outside the walls in the Song camp.
This changes everything.
It fundamentally alters the entire physics of the siege. Let's introduce Chongyang Envy, the Chongyang girl.
She is an incredibly striking figure in classical literature. She is the daughter of Lord Zhuang of Heidong, hailing from Taiwan, and everything about her introduction is designed to signal immense power.
Even her name is loaded with meaning. She is named Chongyang Envy because she was born on the 9th day of the 9th lunar month. That is the double 9th festival.
Which is culturally profound.
Can you explain that a bit more?
Sure. In traditional Chinese cosmology, odd numbers represent yang, which is masculine, active, bright, and martial energy.
Okay.
The 9th day of the 9th month is double yang, or Cheng Yang. It is the peak of active energy in the calendar.
Oh, I see.
So by naming her this, the text is telling the reader that she possesses an overwhelming concentration of martial prowess. She is a fierce warrior, fiercely independent, and she completely subverts the traditional expectations of women in these military sagas.
And here's where the narrative gets a really fascinating romantic twist. She is actually betrothed to Yang Lulang.
They were supposed to be married long ago.
Yeah, but the constant warfare and political chaos of the era separated them. But she doesn't sit at home writing letters waiting for the war to end. When she hears that Lulang is bogged down besieging the massive walls of Yuzhou, she marches an army of 10,000 troops to his camp to bail him out.
Notice how she arrives, too. She does not arrive as a subordinate.
Right.
She does not arrive as a damsel requiring rescue or protection. She arrives as a peer, a military commander bringing a massive influx of fresh troops that the Song army desperately needs to crack the capital.
When she arrives at the camp, she hears Lilang is inside the command tent. She sends a messenger in. Lulang remembers their betrothal, realizes the political and personal weight of the moment, and sends his top general, Yu Sheng, out to formally escort her in.
It's a very formal recognition of her status.
They finally reunite in the command tent. The text notes that they share their past stories with deep, genuine affection.
But pay very close attention to the pacing of this scene.
It's fast, right?
Very fast. The emotional reunion lasts for maybe a paragraph. Lulang essentially says, "I am overjoyed to see you, but the war is still raging. We need to hold off on the formal marriage rites until we can return home and present ourselves to the family matriarch."
And she doesn't miss a beat. She completely agrees. I find this so compelling.
It's incredibly pragmatic.
They literally hit pause on their long-awaited wedding to immediately pivot into planning a high-stakes Black Ops military strategy. It is the ultimate display of prioritizing duty to the state over personal romantic desire.
It is an incredible display of shared pragmatism because the moment the wedding is deferred, Chongyang Envy shifts into general mode.
What does she propose?
She tells Lulang, "I came here to establish merit for the state. Let me use my arrival to break this siege. I will initiate a fake defection."
A fake defection?
Yeah. She says, "I will pretend to surrender to Empress Shao, get my troops inside the gates, and we will crush them from the inside."
Okay, I have to step in here. Because as thrilling as that sounds, from a purely strategic standpoint, a fake defection. Isn't that the oldest, most obvious trick in the book?
It definitely is.
Put yourself on those city walls?
Yeah.
You are a paranoid Liao commander. You just lost 120,000 men. An unknown army magically shows up at your gates and says, "Hey, we want to switch sides and join you." Why on earth would anyone with a functioning brain believe that?
Because the oldest trick in the book relies entirely on timing and the psychological state of the target.
Ah, right.
A fake defection fails when the enemy is confident and secure. But we just spent time in Empress Shao's war room. We know exactly how fragile she is.
She's completely desperate for a miracle.
Exactly. She is drowning, and Chongyang MV is handing her a life raft.
Desperation breeds confirmation bias.
Exactly that. When people are terrified, their critical thinking skills degrade. They don't look for the catch, they look for relief.
So she just walks right in.
Well, no, Chongyang MV isn't just knocking on the door randomly. She is about to orchestrate an incredibly elaborate piece of street theater to bypass their logical defenses.
Let's break down that theater, because this is the ultimate Trojan horse operation.
Yeah.
She doesn't just ride up with a white flag. She manufactures absolute proof of her hostility toward the Song.
The choreography here is vital. She leads her 10,000 troops out into the open field below the walls of Yuzhou, and she initiates a highly visible, incredibly noisy fake battle against the famous Song generals Yu Sheng and Meng Liang.
So they're putting on a show.
A huge show. They put on this massive display of clashing weapons and maneuvering cavalry, and then right on cue, the Song generals pretend to be overwhelmed, turn their horses, and retreat in apparent defeat.
So the Liao guards standing on the battlements are looking down, and what do they see?
They see exactly what they want to see.
Right. They see the terrifying Song generals, the same guys who just massacred their army in the valley, getting completely routed by this unknown female warrior.
It's perfect bait.
The guards rush to the watchtower, bang on the doors, and tell the Empress, "You have to see this. There is an army down there fighting off the Song."
And Empress Shao runs up to the wall, looks down, and sees the banners waving in the wind, reading, "Heidong Chongyang Envi." She instantly orders the gates open to bring her inside.
And the moment Chongyang Envy is brought before the Empress, she delivers a lie, that is so perfectly calibrated, so politically astute, that it completely bypasses whatever skepticism the Empress might have had left.
It's a really smart lie.
She claims to be representing her lord, Liu Yun. Let's unpack that name, because that isn't just a random alias. Why does using the name Liu Yun make this lie so irresistible?
Because it taps directly into the complex geopolitical history of the region. Liu Jun was a historical figure tied to the Northern Han dynasty.
Okay, and what's their deal?
Well, the Northern Han had long-standing, bitter historical grievances with the Song dynasty. They had actually allied with the Liao in the past to survive against Song expansion.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
So when Chongyang Envy says, "My lord Liu Jun deeply hates the Song for attacking us, and he sent me to help you," she's providing a completely plausible political motive.
It makes complete sense to the Empress. It's the enemy of my enemy is my friend logic.
Precisely. And Chongyang Envy sweetens the deal. She doesn't just offer troops. She says, if we ally together right now, we can crush the Song army outside these walls, and then we will split the entire Central Plains between our two nations.
Wow, offering her half the world.
She is offering an alliance, revenge, and a continent-spanning empire to a woman who an hour ago was preparing to surrender her own life.
It is the perfect bait.
Yeah.
And Empress Xiao swallows the hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, totally.
She is so elated that she immediately orders a massive, opulent banquet in the palace to celebrate their new savior. But here is where the tension absolutely skyrockets. Because guess who is sitting at the head table of this banquet, playing the role of the loyal Liao son-in-law?
Mu Yi.
Mu Yi.
Imagine the internal shock Mu Yi experiences in that moment. He is sitting there sipping wine, and he looks at the guest of honor and realizes, wait, I know exactly who that is.
Right, his brother's fiancée.
Exactly. That is the woman betrothed to my brother Lulang. There is absolutely no universe in which she is legitimately defecting to the Liao.
But he is surrounded by the entire Liao High Command. He can't give her a knowing wink. He can't pull her aside.
No, he's trapped.
He has to maintain his cover while simultaneously figuring out how to integrate into her plan. So he stands up, plays the part of the aggressive loyalist, and says to the Empress, "Your Majesty, allow my elite troops to join her in the vanguard tomorrow morning to wipe out the Song."
It is a masterstroke of improvisation.
Truly.
The Empress, thinking she has just formed an unstoppable dream team, readily agrees. She places Mu Yi in direct coordination with Chongyang Envy, which naturally dictates that the two of them must hold a private military briefing in a command tent later that night.
You can cut the tension in that tent with a knife.
Oh, absolutely.
Chongyang Envy walks in, fully believing that Mu Yi is a genuine, high-ranking Liao commander. She is mentally preparing to manipulate him.
Right, she has no idea who he really is.
She lays out her battle plan, saying, "General, you lead your troops out the north gate first. I will follow right behind you, and we will easily break the Song lines."
And Mu Yi just looks at her and laughs.
I love that detail.
He says, "If we execute your plan, Yuzu will fall in a single battle." Chongyang Envy is instantly on high alert. She thinks she's been made.
She must have been terrified.
She asks him what he means, and Mu Yi finally drops the 18-year mask. He says, "Don't hide it from me. We are on the same side." And he reveals that he is actually Yang Seleng.
I cannot fathom the wave of relief that must have washed over her. She walked into that city completely alone, surrounded by tens of thousands of hostile soldiers, fully expecting this to be a suicide mission.
It was a massive gamble.
And suddenly, the guy with the highest security clearance in the entire fortress looks at her and says, "I've been waiting 2 decades to burn this place down. Let's do it together."
They waste absolutely no time. They instantly begin mapping out a decapitation strike.
Taking off the head of the snake.
Exactly. Mu Yi knows the Liao command structure intimately. He tells her that while the Empress is easily manipulated, she still has 4 incredibly dangerous, fiercely loyal frontline commanders.
Who are they?
The Upper Wanhu, the Lower Wanhu, Li Yu, and Lu Xun.
Let's clarify that title for a second. Wanhu. What does that actually mean on an ancient battlefield?
Wanhu literally translates to Myriarch, or Commander of 10,000.
Okay, so a very high rank.
Yes. In an era before radio communication, an army is entirely dependent on visual flags, drums, and the physical presence of its high-ranking generals to maintain order. A Wanhu is the absolute linchpin holding 10,000 men together.
So if you take them out,
If you remove the Wanhu, those 10,000 disciplined soldiers instantly revert to a panicked, directionless mob. Mu Yi tells her, "We must remove these teeth and claws before we can take the city."
so they formulate a brutal, shockingly precise assassination plot masquerading as a military sortie.
It's so cold-blooded.
Mu Yi will use his authority to order those 4 specific commanders to take the vanguard the next morning, riding out side by side with Chungyang Endi's troops.
Right.
The plan is simple. In the chaos of the initial clash with the Song army outside the gates, Chungyang Envi will turn her weapons on her allies and execute the command structure point blank.
The audacity of the plan is chilling, and as the sun rises the next morning, the trap is sprung.
The moment of truth.
A cannon fires, the heavy wooden gates of Yuzhu swing open, and the Liao vanguard rides out under their massive banners. They are completely oblivious to the fact that they are riding to their own executions.
I want to slow down and really look at the mechanics of this battle, because the hubris on display is staggering.
Oh, it really is.
The Liao commander, the Upper Wanhu, rides out to the front of the lines. He looks across the field at the Song general Yu Sheng, and he starts screaming insults. He calls the Song forces thieves facing imminent death.
The dramatic irony is almost suffocating. He genuinely believes he possesses an overwhelming tactical advantage.
He thinks he's got this in the bag.
He has his veteran troops, and he thinks he has a massive allied force flanking him. He has absolutely no idea that the actual lethal threat isn't the army standing 100 yards in front of him. It is the ally riding mere inches behind his back.
Upper Wanhu spurs his horse and charges at Yu Sheng. They clash weapons. Almost immediately, the other Liao generals, Lower Wanhu, Li Yi, and Li Shen, rush forward to gang up on Yu Sheng.
Which is exactly what the Song forces were waiting for.
Yu Sheng pretends he is overwhelmed. He parries a few blows, turns his horse around, and feigns a panicked retreat.
The Liao generals take the bait. They spur their horses to chase him down, convinced they have won the opening skirmish. And in that exact second, the grand deception drops.
Chungyang Envi kicks her horse into a sprint, riding right up behind the pursuing Liao generals. She yells for them to stop.
And they turn their heads, completely confused.
And before their brains can even process the betrayal, she brings her blade down in a massive arc and literally hacks Li Jin right off his horse.
The physical mechanics of a cavalry backstab like this require an unimaginable level of misplaced trust.
I mean, to get that close.
For her to be close enough to strike down a commander at a full gallop means the Liao generals had completely let down their guard. They weren't watching their flanks, they were focused entirely forward.
The moment Li Shen's body hits the dirt, total paralysis grips the remaining Liao generals. Li Yi is stunned. He pulls back on his reins, his mind completely locking up as he tries to compute why his ally just murdered his friend.
And in that split second of hesitation, the Song general Yu Sheng whips his horse around, charges back into the fray, and cuts Li Yi in half.
The command structure disintegrates in a matter of seconds. Meng Liang and Zhao Zan rush out of the Song camp with the main infantry force. The war cries are deafening.
Total chaos.
Meng Liang targets the screaming Upper Wanhu and kills him. The Lower Wanhu is thrown from his horse and is literally trampled into the mud by the chaotic, panicking cavalry of his own routing army.
Within minutes, the leadership of the Liao vanguard is entirely erased. There are no Wanhu left to issue orders. The 10,000 troops dissolve into a terrified stampede.
And Chungyang Envi doesn't even pause. She rallies her forces, merges with the Song army, and leads the charge straight back through the open gates into the suddenly defenseless city of Yuzhu.
The city just boils over with absolute chaos as the Song army floods the streets.
It is a flawless execution of tactical deception. But before we move into the palace, I want to address something that often makes modern readers deeply uncomfortable.
You mean the sheer dishonor of it all?
Yes. Because that's exactly what I was thinking. We are conditioned by movies and certain historical myths to expect honorable one-on-one combat, the grand duel between heroes.
Right, the chivalric ideal.
But this is literally riding up behind an ally who trusts you and burying a sword in his spine. Does this level of deceit, this blatant backstabbing, somehow tarnish the legacy of the Yang family as the great heroes of the Song dynasty?
It is a critical question, but we really have to evaluate it through the lens of classical Chinese military philosophy, not, medieval European chivalry.
Okay, fair enough.
If you read Sun Tzu's Art of War, the foundational text of this military culture, the very first principle of warfare is that all warfare is based on deception.
So there's no moral penalty for fighting dirty?
Not when the survival of the state is at stake. The heroism of the Yang family in this literature is anchored entirely in their unwavering sacrificial loyalty to the Song nation.
Ah, I see. It's about the bigger picture.
Exactly. The ultimate moral imperative is to end a devastating generational war, to neutralize a persistent existential threat, and to save the lives of their own soldiers and civilians.
Fine, whatever it takes to do that is justified.
Right. If achieving that paramount good requires lying, forging alliances, and executing enemy generals from behind, the text doesn't view that as a moral failing. It views it as a necessary, praiseworthy application of strategic ruthlessness. Honor is found in delivering victory to your emperor, not in fighting fair against an empire trying to destroy you.
That reframes it perfectly. The luxury of fighting fair is a fast track to losing the war.
Exactly.
So the gates fall. The Song army secures the outer walls and begins sweeping the streets. And the narrative camera essentially pans away from the blood, the mud, and the screaming horses of the battlefield.
It moves deep inside.
It moves deep into the quiet, lavishly decorated inner sanctums of the Yuzu palaces, where the bill for this massive deception is finally being presented. The noise of the collapsing city reaches the inner courts. Empress Xiao realizes the gates are breached.
She understands instantly that the game is over. The 10 years of grain, the hundreds of thousands of troops, none of it matters because the enemy is already inside the house.
It's all gone.
She faces a terrifying choice. If she is captured alive by the Song army, she will be paraded back to the Song capital as a trophy of war. She will be subjected to the ultimate humiliation.
And she won't accept that.
As the ruler of a fierce, proud nation, she refuses to allow her body and her legacy to be desecrated like that.
She retreats alone into the back palace. She throws her sash, throws it over a beam, and hangs herself. But the text doesn't just say she used a rope. It gives us a very specific, deeply intentional detail. It says she used a dragon-patterned sash.
The Salam too. That detail is profoundly symbolic, packing an immense amount of cultural weight into 3 words. In imperial Chinese and surrounding nomadic cultures, the dragon is the exclusive, ultimate symbol of absolute sovereign authority.
The ultimate power.
By using the dragon sash to end her own life, the text is telling us that the very emblem of the power she wielded, the symbol of the empire she tried so desperately to hold together, becomes the physical instrument of her destruction.
That is so poetic.
She chooses to assert one final, tragic moment of control over her own destiny rather than surrender her agency to the conquerors.
It is a heavy, suffocating moment. But while the Empress is choosing death in one wing of the palace in another courtyard, our sleeper agent, Mu Yi, is frantically shedding the disguise he has worn for 2 decades.
He's rushing to finish his mission.
He rushes into the Forbidden Palace and physically runs into his Liao wife, Princess Qianj, who is desperately trying to flee the chaos.
This collision is arguably the emotional climax of the entire narrative. It is the moment the political and the deeply personal violently intersect.
He grabs her arm to stop her from running. He says, "Don't panic. You need to know the truth. I am actually Yang Yanlang, the 4th son of the Yang family. I faked the name Mu Yi. You have shown me deep kindness for 18 years, and I swear I will not harm you."
And her reaction is just heartbreaking.
She just collapses to her knees, weeping, and says, "My life is in your hands."
He offers her a lifeline. He says, "If you are willing to abandon this burning city and follow me back to the Central Plains, we can go together, but I will not force you."
And she agrees.
Incredibly, despite the trauma of the moment, she agrees. She explicitly tells him, "The country is broken and the home is lost. If you remember our marriage and take me with you, how could I refuse?"
This moment absolutely blows my mind.
It's a lot to take in.
Because think about what he is actually saying to her. He is saying, "Hey, honey, I've been lying to your face every day for almost 2 decades. Oh, and I'm also the primary architect of the violent destruction of your family's empire, and my actions just drove your mother to hang herself. So, grab your jewelry and let's go start a new life together."
It's a wild proposition.
Why on earth does she agree to that? Is this supposed to be a testament to true, conquering love? Or is this just a raw, desperate survival instinct kicking in while the ceiling is literally caving in on her?
If we honestly unpack the historical realities of royal women in classical wartime scenarios, it is almost certainly a complex, agonizing mixture of both.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Look at her immediate reality. Her mother is dead, her army is massacred, her empire has evaporated. If she stays in that palace, she becomes a high-value prisoner of war, subject to whatever horrors or political marriages the conquering Song army decides to inflict upon her.
So staying is not an option.
Yang Yanlang, despite being the architect of her universe's destruction, is paradoxically the only human being left on Earth offering her a sliver of safety and continuity.
Wow, that's dark.
Her agreement is a brutally pragmatic survival calculus. She has to leverage whatever genuine attachment they formed over those 18 years just to stay alive.
And The brutal pragmatism of this entire situation is instantly, violently highlighted by what happens next. They're having this incredibly tender, complicated, tear-filled moment of reconciliation.
And then they're interrupted.
Yes. Suddenly, a Liao official named Yelu Suegu, ironically, the exact same official who opened the city gates for Chongyang and Wei the day before, accidentally runs into the courtyard and overhears their conversation.
He hears Mu Yi confessing his true identity.
And without a microsecond of hesitation, Yan Lang draws his weapon, steps away from his weeping wife, and instantly cuts the official down. He murders him on the spot, just to protect the secret and secure their escape.
It is such a jarring pivot.
It really is. I mean, going from weeping to murder in 1 second.
But it perfectly illustrates the terrifying duality of the sleeper agent. In one breath, he is capable of profound emotional connection and mercy with his wife. And in the very next breath, he executes completely detached, lethal violence to sanitize his environment.
He's a machine.
He is a man torn between two worlds, operating entirely on survival instinct.
And speaking of survival instincts, we have to look at the contrast of how the proud Liao general Yulu Shuge handles the collapse.
Oh, this is a fascinating downfall.
This is the CFO, the guy who just 24 hours ago was pounding his fist on the war room table, bragging about having 10 years of grain, mocking the Empress for being scared.
Ah, how the mighty fall.
When he realizes the Song army has breached the inner walls, he doesn't rally his troops for a final stand. He doesn't commit suicide to preserve his honor like the Empress. The text says he shaves off all his hair and his beard, puts on civilian clothes, and sneaks out a back gate to disappear into the countryside.
We cannot overstate what a massive degradation that is.
Is it that big of a deal to shave?
Shaving the hair and beard in the cultural context of both Confucian societies and the surrounding nomadic empires, hair was deeply tied to identity, to masculinity, to filial piety, and to social rank.
So it's not just a disguise.
To voluntarily shave it all off is to completely mutilate your own identity. He strips away every single marker of his rank, his pride, and his history just to scurry away like a rat in the dark.
Wow.
It is the ultimate public humiliation, deliberately contrasted by the author against the Empress's dignified, if tragic, end.
So the resistance crumbles. The battle effectively ends. Yang Lulang and the Song troops secure the major thoroughfares of the city. And this brings us to the immediate aftermath, which is fascinating because the tone of the entire text shifts violently.
It's a complete 180.
The blood is still wet on the cobblestones, the fires are still burning, but Lulang rides through the streets and issues a very strict, definitive order to his entire army. No massacres.
This is a crucial evolution in his leadership, and it requires us to look back at Section 1.
Right, the valley.
Remember when he summarily beheaded tens of thousands of prisoners outside the valley? Why the sudden massive shift to mercy?
It seems contradictory.
Because the geopolitical context has completely flipped. Yuzhou is no longer an impenetrable enemy stronghold that needs to be terrified into submission. The walls have fallen. It is now conquered territory. It is their city now.
All right, you don't burn down your own house and you don't slaughter your new tax base.
Exactly that. It is the immediate, necessary pivot from being a conqueror to being a governor. If he allows his troops to sack the city and massacre the civilians, he destroys the economic value of the capital and guarantees an endless, bloody insurgency.
That means order.
He needs the civilian population to calm down, return to their shops, keep the infrastructure running, and accept Song taxation.
The 8th prince of the Song dynasty then officially enters the pacified city to establish administrative control. He is informed that the Empress has taken her own life, and he orders her body to be taken down and treated with proper royal dignity.
A very measured political response.
His clerks begin cataloging the prisoners of war, 2 Liao princes, 49 high-ranking political officials, and 36 generals preparing to ship them back to the Song capital as proof of total victory.
The bureaucracy of winning.
And it is in this moment of absolute triumph, amidst the bureaucratic cataloging of a conquered empire, that Yanlang the spy, who orchestrated the entire thing, finally steps out of the shadows and presents himself formally to the 8th prince.
And this interaction is heavily laden with the devastating psychological burden of the spy.
He's not celebrating, is he?
No. Yanlang steps forward, drops to his knees, and the text notes that he expresses profound shame. He uses a very specific phrase, nanyan, which translates to a blushing, deeply ashamed face.
Why is he so ashamed?
He says to the prince, "I have lived in the barbarian court for 18 years. Seeing your highness today, I feel deeply ashamed."
I really want to focus on that. Because Objectively, if we look at the scoreboard, he is the undisputed hero of the war.
He won the whole thing.
He delivered the impenetrable enemy capital on a silver platter with minimal Song casualties. He should be demanding a parade. Why is he trembling with shame?
Because the human mind cannot easily reconcile the cognitive dissonance of deep cover. For 18 years, he ate Liao food, he wore Liao clothes, he spoke the Liao language, he bowed to a Liao empress, and he married a Liao princess.
He lived as one of them.
Exactly. In a historical culture that places absolute paramount importance on ritual purity, unwavering loyalty, and distinct cultural identity, he feels completely contaminated.
Like he's betraying who he is.
He knows he remained loyal to the song in his heart, but his daily physical existence was a continuous betrayal of his cultural norms. He feels that he has permanently compromised his soul, his very identity, to achieve this tactical victory.
It makes me think of an undercover narcotics officer who has been embedded so deep inside a cartel for so long that he genuinely isn't sure who he is anymore.
That's a great comparison.
He has done terrible, violent things to maintain his cover. He has formed genuine, complex relationships with the people he was assigned to destroy, and when he finally survives the raid, comes back to the precinct and puts on his uniform, he just feels dirty.
He can't wash it off.
The mirror doesn't reflect the person he thought he was. But the Eighth Prince's response is exactly what he needs to hear. The prince acts like the police captain taking the badge out of the desk. He physically comforts him, raises him up, and says, "The pacification of Yuzhou today is entirely your achievement. When we return to the emperor, you will be heavily rewarded. What is there to be ashamed of?"
The Eighth Prince is offering him the ultimate state absolution.
The state says it's okay.
The state, speaking through the prince, is officially declaring that the geopolitical results matter infinitely more than the purity of the method. The victory washes away the stain of the 18-year lie.
A clean slate.
Following this emotional reunion, the official Kuzun drafts a formal proclamation to pacify the surrounding regions, and the Liao dynasty effectively submits to the song. The impossible war is finally won.